Since I'm fairly certain someone's going to want to know how I built the RC cucktruck, I'm going to show you how I built it, but I'm going to be using my big RC rock crawler I got from Walmart that I modified with hobby red parts. So first is getting a template for the actual cucktruck itself. The template I'm using is from another YouTuber, which is give me a second. I want to make sure I give him the proper shout out. This guy right here, which I got the design template from here, which is a PDF, and I went online and basically converted the PDF to actual JPEGs, and I just basically trimmed one section down, and now I'm currently in the process of scaling it up properly so the wheel hubs will actually properly align with the tires. So as you can tell, I already upscaled it by 160%. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to upscale it now to 200. So I'm going to get all that situated and come back. Scratch that, 190 is the percentage I need. So now I'm going to go and properly print everything out. Thank goodness I decided to do a double check before I proceeded to just make a fool of myself. Alright, so now it's the next day. Let's get on with this build. I got everything cut out and put together. Now for foam board to build the body, I would suggest using Elmer's foam board, which you can get from Walmart. That is because since this is supposed to be a car and not an airplane, we can use stronger foam board so it can actually somewhat take a hit. Granted, I still wouldn't crash this thing around and whatnot since it is still foam board. But also this foam board will make a better looking body since the cucktruck is supposed to be silver. It's supposed to have stainless steel silver. If you spray paint the 30-year Walmart Elmer's foam board with a silver spray paint, it should theoretically look a little bit more steelish. But again, it's still a cucktruck in the end. So now I'm gonna go and get the body pieces all laid out, traced out, and cut. They sure as hell can't make a good looking electric truck. But at least they can render out a decent picture to help me build this thing. I've been using their website to actually get a few things properly centered. Mainly the top sunbeam light that's supposed to go here, and I'll be using their pictures again also to get the front headlights properly set in, and also get the tail light properly set in too. As you can tell, the autofocus on my camera's hot trash, so I gotta hit the camera. There it goes. It's really annoying that I gotta hit the camera to get the autofocus to properly center right, but once I do that, it starts working. And of course, here's the chassis I'm gonna be using. The one thing you'll note is that when I actually go to put the body on the chassis itself, the tires that this chassis came with are a tad bit too big. So I'm gonna be forced to raise this thing off the actual chassis a little bit, hopefully enough to where it'll still look halfway decent. But yeah, I still got a little ways to go on this build, but it's coming along relatively fine, even though the tires I'm using are a tad bit too big. I kind of like the original one I made right there because it's stupid fast compared to this thing, but I wanted to build a bigger version of the cucktruck, so that's what I'm doing. So cucktruck version 2 is taking a bit longer to build. That is because I'm putting a lot more effort into this version because I want it to at least look proper, even though I'm calling it the cucktruck. So first I want to start off with the chassis I'm using. I'm using that $60 rock crawler that I modified to tow Kongou around at my anime convention. And the reason why I want to talk about this thing is that this thing can be bought on AliExpress or those cheap Chinese websites, and over at Walmart for $60. And for this thing being a $60 toy from China, the fact that you can completely remove the plastic body so you can just have the roll cage of the car is just mind-boggling, especially considering for a car from China. Has this much customizability and this much of the ability to be completely torn apart. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be attaching the body right there onto this frame, and I'm going to do it in a way to where the cucktruck body can just simply pop on and off. That way, so I don't have to go and completely molest the roll cage that this rock crawler has, because this rock crawler cage is still really good, and I don't want to destroy this thing. The only thing that I got cut off, unfortunately, is these little nibs right here that are really meant to hold on the front bumper. The reason why I got to nip these off is because I'm not able to actually push the body back far enough so the wheel rims don't actually come in contact with the tires. So once I get all these nipped off and everything semi figured out, I'll come back and actually show you how everything looks to an extent. I do want to show the body though. That took a bit more. This one took a little bit more longer. There are imperfections because this is just spray painted body, but luckily I can go in there and properly respray paint some of these, like this right here. This is fine. The only part that's really bad is the back right here, where you can see silver spray paint still wasn't dry enough, and it's got some of it got onto the plastic, or not on plastic, but the black spray paint. So I'll just remask this section off and respray paint it matte black. I'll wait about a day or two. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do with the fingerprints that you see right there. I might just go and do another respray of the whole silver body on this thing where the fingerprints are. But yep. But overall, this is not a bad looking body. Sorry for our last part, my autism wouldn't let me speak properly. But here you can kind of get the general idea of how it's going to look. I will have to be raising this thing off by a little bit on each side, but luckily the way this thing's designed, it looks like I really don't need to do anything with the back because the tires aren't actually going to come in contact, but they're going to be pretty close. And with the way they made the roll cage, the body can just pivot on this little piece right here on both sides, and I can just easily add like a little ledge system right here to keep the front section on, and then I can easily go in there and figure out how I'm going to more properly secure the body, because right now I'm just in the process of getting the body properly lifted off the roll cage so the tires won't come in contact with the body and whatnot. But the one thing that sucks is the silver spray paint really doesn't look that good with my fingerprints on it. I thought I let it dry. I thought I let the spray paint dry long enough, but apparently I didn't. But luckily, but hopefully by the time I actually go to do another respray of this thing, the spray paint should be dry enough to where I can actually go and mask everything that needs to be masked and then do another recoat. But for right now, like I said, I'm in the process of figuring out exactly where everything goes. But like I said, everything looks to be in perfect order for the most part. It's been a few days since I last recorded the last part of the video you just saw. And I decided I'm going to forego this body and completely rebuild it all over again, because I'm not happy with how this body came out, especially with the massive imperfections on the top layer of the spray paint. I don't know how well my camera is actually picking up how bad the spray paint is on this thing. It actually came out perfectly fine on the sides. But I got too grabby with this thing when the paint wasn't fully dry, and I just messed it all up. So I think it's better off for me to just completely rebuild this body all over again. And also this will allow me to properly go in there and actually make it so when I add in the LEDs, they don't shine on the outside of the paper here. What I need to do that is I need to basically spray paint the whole interior of the body matte black. That way, so when I put the LEDs in the front and in the back, they don't actually shine through the body, they just shine directly through the holes and whatnot. So this will give me a proper opportunity to more properly build this body out, get a more proper paint job done, because I have to spray paint these fenders matte black before I actually attach them to the body. So there are some imperfections on this body too that I need to fix. So me just completely redoing this body all over again will allow me to more properly get the second version of the body put together. And what I am going to do though is I'm going to pop this body off and try my best to not disturb the popsicle stick planks I have right here that'll be supporting the body, because with the way I have this thing set up, this chassis, the body is mounted properly to a chassis and whatnot. So yeah, my autism does not allow me to speak right since I'm fairly sleepy. So that's fine, and I just want to get this video done and whatnot. So I'll be uploading this video as it is. But what I'll also do is after this part of the video, I'll be showing what my next build is going to be. So the quality is going to change significantly. You'll see why in a second. This will be my next life-size build. The crossover version of Ronka. I waited, 3 years to actually build a life-size Ronka because she was one of the very first few characters I was initially going to build. Since I already got Minmay built and I got Freya built, my next task is, of course, to build Ronka. I just had to wait for the version of Ronka I wanted to build. And the crossover version is the one I want to build. I'm also hopefully planning on building the crossover version of Shirley too. That model already got pulled and I have it on my computer. I just gotta wait for Ronka's model to be pulled. And then I gotta talk to the guy that does the posing for me and actually figure out the proper posing I want for her. I'm going for a more unique pose for Ronka, but the problem is that for that particular pose I have in mind, we have basically about this much of Ronka to work with. And since we also gotta properly pose the legs, and again the version I want has her only about like this far up, it would be hard to get the proper pose down because I need to make sure the legs are nice and sturdy and not just freaking front to back and whatnot, because if I have it front to back, she can easily fall over and whatnot. That's why whenever I build these characters, I tend to have their feet more or less spread out like this. That way, so they're more properly. That way, so they're going to be more stable on the platforms I build them on. Because the feet are just front and back of each other. It's just going to be incredibly. She's going to be incredibly unstable, and she can easily fall over to the right or the left. And that's including with the amount of superstructure I actually put inside the legs, as you see in all my build videos previously. But like I said, this is the next version of Ronka I'm planning on build, or not Ronka, but this is going to be the next build I'm going to be doing, which is again a life-size Ronka. So most likely what will happen is I'll get the bigger version of the cucktruck finished before I actually start posting anything with Ronka, because it's going to be a while before this model. It's probably going to be like another day or two for the model gets pulled for me to work with, and then it's probably going to be like another few weeks to a month or so for the guy to do the posing for Ronka, since he has IRL stuff to do and whatnot. So with that said, I'm guessing that'll be the end of this video. Hopefully soon I'll start building Ronka.